What is up, my friend? Welcome to episode 89 of the Anthony John Amos podcast. This episode is all about how your way of being is impacting every single thing that you do. So if you want to learn how to create a quantum leap and create more freedom, purpose, and success inside your life and business, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Anthony John Amos podcast, the one and only podcast designed to help you become unstoppable in life and business. My name is Anthony John Amos. My friends call me AJ. And my goal with this podcast is to help you remember who you truly are so you can maintain your center in the chaos, embody your potential, and unlock freedom in your life and business. That being said, let's get into today's show.
All right, welcome back. Now, before we hop into today's episode, I will let you know about my book called Mindset is Not Enough. It's a book designed to help entrepreneurs escape from the internal pressure that keeps them feeling frustrated, unfulfilled, and burnt out. It reveals the 4 ancient steps to having unshakable clarity, confidence, and certainty. This way you can lead your industry, your market, your team, and your clients with driven inspiration, unwavering conviction, and power. And you can get the entire book for free by going to ajamix.com/book. Again, ajamix.com /book, ajamix.com/book to get the entire thing for today. So make sure you grab that copy. So enough of that. Let's talk about how your way of being is impacting everything you do. You know, a lot of people, they really don't talk about this stuff, yet it's vital to understand if you're serious about stepping into your sovereignty, your ability to be at cause in your life, your ability to source your own power and create the results that you want in your life. And recently, my wife and I, we have been going through this huge, crazy up-leveling in the way that we relate with one another. And for many, many years, the way of being that I inherited from the family, from the culture I was raised in, was I'm not enough. Now, the reason I say the way of being I inherited from my family and my culture is because every single human being on the planet, when they are born into a family, when they are born into a culture, they automatically absorb the values. They watch and see how those people within their family relate with one another, how they do things. And so there's a way of being that's automatically inherited from your mother, from your father, from the family, from the culture that you're raised in. Now, my I'm not enough, my way of being of I'm not enough, that wasn't just a belief system. It's a way of being. Just like how you inherited your way of being, it's not just a belief system. That's part of it, but it's deeper. It's a way of being. See, my not enoughness, I'm not enough, that was a filter in which I felt myself to be. It was a filter in which I listened, in which I saw the world to be, in which I operated in it. The same thing's happening for you. You have a way of being, which is a filter in which you feel yourself to be. It's a filter in which the way that you listen, the way that you hear, and the way that you see the world. Right now, I'm reading a book called Levels of Being by Frederick Dodson. I think I got the author right. And in that book, he says, you do not see the world as it is, but as you are. And I'm coming to a conclusion that I believe he's right. And what he's referring to is your way of being. So let me help you make sense of what I'm trying to explain here, because this is a very, very deep concept that's actually hard to put language around. When my wife would complain about something inside our marriage, I would hear her complaints through a filter of I'm not enough. So let's use a basic example. This is a terrible example, but we'll use it. So let's pretend she says something like, why didn't you take out the trash? If she would say something, if it was a complaint, in my body, I would feel I'm not enough. I would feel I'm not a good enough husband. I would then think thoughts of shit, if I'm not a good enough husband, then she's going to leave me. Now, these weren't just thoughts. They were thoughts, but they weren't just thoughts. These were a full-on experience inside my body, an experience at the core of my being for me, because my way of being was I'm not enough. And as a result, I must do a lot of things to prove that I am enough. And if I do enough things to prove that I'm enough, then I'll be safe and secure and accepted. Now, the problem with that way of being is it was robbing me of my sovereignty. And it's not my wife who's doing anything. In fact, in the grand scheme of things, she's actually doing me a huge favor. She was showing up as the catalyst to help me see another layer where I get to internally source my own enoughness and know, and my core of cores, that I'm doing everything in my power to be an amazing husband, to be an amazing father, to be an amazing man. And just probably the past week, I got it. I got it to a point where I could listen to her complaints and know I'm enough. I could listen to her complaints and know I'm doing everything in my power to serve her. And if she doesn't see it, I have nothing to prove, and there's nothing I can or could do to help her see it. Now, I came to this conclusion because she also has a way of being. A way of being where she listens, she sees, and she feels that she is alone and no one is here to help her. And since that is her way of being, that is her filter of reality, there is nothing I could ever do to change the way she sees, hears, and feels her reality to be. Now, why is this important? Why in the world am I sharing this? Well, it's important because so many people turn to the personal and business development industry to improve their lives, yet if they don't learn how to become aware of their way of being and learn to rise above it objectively, no matter what they learn or what they implement will never be implemented in a way that is sustainable. Now, let me give you an example. If my wife's way of being is I'm alone and no one is here to help me, if that is how she sees and hears and feels life to be, no matter what I do will change that. Like, regardless of how many conscious communication frameworks I try to use, regardless of how many date nights I try to create, nothing I do or say is going to get through because of her way of being. Now, I'd have you consider the only way to create sustainable transformation is to become aware of your current way of being and get under it. Now, this is very different than I used to think. I used to think, just tell me what the solution is and I'll do it, and that doing of it will change my reality. And now, after spending tens of thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of hours on my own personal development and coaching hundreds of other human beings, I've learned that's not just true. Like, it's just not true. And the only way I can explain this is, I guess, with a metaphor and illustration, and it's kind of like riding in a train car. It's like you're riding in a train car where you know where the train is headed. And you look out the window and you're like, man, I don't like the scenery that I'm seeing right now. In fact, I don't even like where this train is headed. So in a desperate attempt to change where the train is going, you think to yourself, well, what if I go and sit on the left side of the train? Like, if I'm sitting on the right side, what if I go sit on the left side of the train? Maybe that will change the direction of this train. So you get up from the right side of the train, you go sit on the left side of the train, and then you realize, well, the train is still headed in the same direction. And so then you get really smart and you think to yourself, well, what if I move to the front of the train? I mean, surely if I move to the front of the train, that's going to change the direction. So you get up from the left side of the train, you move to the front of the train, and yet you realize the train is still headed in the same direction. So then you think of something crazy, something outside the box, and you think to yourself, okay, I got this. What if I stand on my head? What if I meditate in the middle of the train? Surely that's the answer. And so you go do that. You go stand on your head, you meditate in the middle of the train, and soon you see that the train is still headed in the same destination that you don't want it to go. And for many people, the reading of the books, the hiring of mentors, the going to seminars is like them attempting to change seats on the train. It gives them something to do, but it doesn't really impact the overall destination of where their life and their business is headed. So what is somebody to do? Well, the number one thing is to become aware of the fact that you're in a train car. It's part of the beingness of being human. And it's different things for different people because different people grew up in different families and different environments and different cultures. But the reality is every single human being inherits a way of being. Now, the great news is you have the capacity to rise above your current train car, to lay new tracks and change the destination of where you're headed to, and then come back into your train car and enjoy the new views. So the lesson here is to understand until you learn how to reinvent your way of being, your hearing and processing, you'll just keep repeating your past on a core level but with new things. And when you understand this, you'll be able to create a quantum leap and a new level of freedom, purpose, and success. And when you do this right, you'll immediately defrag all of the disempowering belief systems that don't serve you and your potential. I've learned my way of being that was I'm not enough didn't support my potential. And I've learned how to know in my core of cores that I'm enough. Like I have nothing to prove, nothing to defend. Like I'm enough. Like I got to know in my core of cores that I'm doing. Like I know I'm doing everything in my power to be the coach, to be the husband, to be the father that I desire to be. Like am I perfect? No way. No way. Yet I know in my bones I'm doing the best I can. And in shifting my way of being to this place of I'm enough, like I'm enough. And again, I'm not just talking about on a mindset level here. I'm not talking about positive affirmation bullshit. I'm talking about on a body set level where I can feel in my cores of cores that I'm enough. Period. End of story. And I know I'm moving and breathing and having my way of being from that place. And in doing so, a whole new level of freedom has presented myself. And in doing so, a whole new level of freedom has presented itself to me. So my invitation to you this day is this. What might be your current default way of being? And what impact is that current default way of being? What impact is that having on your life and your business? Like, is it serving you? Is it empowering you? And if not, maybe it's time to level up your way of being so you can create the quantum shifts that you want in everything that you do. My friend, that's going to do it for this episode of the Anthony John Amyx podcast. I hope this episode served you. And if it did, I would absolutely love to hear about it. Simply take a screenshot of you listening to the show on your device, post it over to your Instagram stories, and tag me at AJ Amyx. I'd love to hear from you over on Instagram. So that's a wrap for this Sunday sermon edition. Until next time, my friend, I'm out. Peace.
Well, that's all I've got for this episode of the Anthony John Amyx podcast. But we have plenty more to help you become unstoppable in life and business. So head on over to ajamyx.com for exclusive resources, information, and tools to help you break through to a new level of freedom, purpose, and success. I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Bye for now.